Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's PrestoStats training webinar. Today, we are focused on lacrosse. Excited to have you, and today you're going to see a lot of the platform. As we go through, you're going to see a lot of similarity if you've ever used Stat Crew Lacrosse before. It's the exact same keystrokes, so it's going to have a very familiar feel to you. But we're going to walk through not only the platform, we will walk through how to send stats out to live stats displays and also show you how to get live XMLs for an arena type of utilization. So with that said, I will go ahead and introduce Zaid, who will walk you through the platform. Zaid?
Good afternoon, everybody, and good morning to those on the West Coast. Zaid Hussein, as Brad mentioned, I'm a member of the product development team here at PrestoSports. Thank you for joining us today. This is the second part of our spring and summer stat demonstration. As Brad mentioned, I'll be taking you through some demonstrations and foundational concepts to effectively utilize our men's and women's lacrosse stat platforms. Hopefully everybody can see my screen. I've got our login window up right now, but what can you expect for today? I'll log into the backend and our network administration system. We'll take a look at rosters that exist and discuss season setup. We'll go into the event hubs and we'll dive into one of the transmission methods that we're going to look at today, just stat partner integrations. Next, we'll launch an event. We'll set up PrestoSync, which is the second method that we promote for transmitting live in-game statistics. And then at that point, we'll launch an event, go right into the stats platform. We'll look at the event settings, ensure we've got our rosters one for one as they were with the rosters in game day. We'll go through some plays and some sequences, finalize and wrap up the event. And finally, we'll take a look at some of the in-game reports that we generated and farewell and Q&A at that point. So I'm going to kick it off here. This is our game day PrestoSports administration system. This is really where you're going to go to handle and manage all of your season stuff, particularly if you're ever going to stat a lacrosse event. You would come into this platform and go into the event and launch it as I will demonstrate here. So this is the main page after logging in. As you can see, we've got a few events for today. This list will grow or will be smaller depending on what you have access to. Internally, we handle all of the user access as you're onboarded. So you should be set up just fine with a season and at least one team. So here I will go into one of the seasons that we'll be looking at today. Obviously, men's and women's lacrosse differ in some sense, so we'll take a look at those differences and take your questions from there. So upon accessing the administration system, you can simply go in and click into a season. I'll go back there. I think I did a little bit too fast. Here we'll show you the list of available events for that given season. You're free to click into an individual event, or you can simply go access the season itself. You can also go directly to the seasons through here. We'll start with the unofficial men's lacrosse. Here are all teams in the season. A couple of teams that I've created. I have access to two of the teams within the season. So therefore, I am seeing a schedule list for both of said teams. We'll click on the Buffalo Bandits since they're both playing each other anyways. So this is the schedule within the back end and game day administration system. Here is where you would go in and view an event. You can view the current progress of the event and the status as well. If you like adding an event, editing the schedule, and creating a tournament are also other options, but we have explicit videos and instructions on how to handle those as well. Within a season, there are multiple tabs you can access. We've got a stats tab here. This will list out a couple of different reports that we have. If you don't have PrestoSync as a tool already downloaded on your machine, you can obtain the package here. I've already got it downloaded, so I won't go through that process. Within the Stat Partners tab, each team will have a list of stat partners that they can be potentially integrated with. So for the Buffalo Bandits, nothing is currently set up, but you would simply connect an FTP server via the user credentials, password path, depending on the requirements with each service provider. Also, if you would like to send an email specifically with the box score, simply add an email address here, comma delimited, so you can add more than one. So finally, it's probably good to check out on your rosters before you're going to go in and launch an event to start statting it. Of course, within the platform, and we'll touch on this, you can add your rosters in a couple of different ways, even down to adding an individual player. But within game day, we do keep your rosters within our network, and this is shared across our entire system. So anybody who is playing the Buffalo Bandits within the season will also have access to this team roster once they go in to stat the event. Couple of different options here. You can export, you can import, and you also can, as I mentioned, add individual players or import many players through CSV, which is probably your easiest method. We'll go back to the schedule here and we'll kick off the stats demonstration. So after you click on an event within the schedule, you're taken to the event page. This will list out some of the details of the event, metadata, as well as some changes that have been put forth. All of our changes are kept in a log, so once the event's created, whenever it's updated, the status is changed, or a statistic has been added, the changes will be captured and logged here. To access our stat platforms, you would simply launch PrestoStats by clicking this button. And for the purpose of this demo, we will be going through live scoring only. We have explicit instructions on how to enter statistics through score sheet, albeit it is a lot easier. But you are provided with a lot less information at the end of the event, if that makes sense. So upon accessing event, you're taken to this view. You've got the game setup here, which is already typically you can access that through this button, which we will go to deeper here in a few minutes. But for rosters, let's select a couple of starters here. And the system will prompt you to select starters for the opposing team as well. Just take the top 5 off of the roster. Within this rosters tab, you can also import a stat crew roster, grab the roster via URL, or you can simply paste a roster the same way that you would import many players through Game Day CMS. So let's go back to the add play. Now the system won't let you start the event until all the required information has been provided. So as you can see here, we're still missing a couple of goalkeepers. We'll set the rock as CJ Kirst. So you can see as plays are added, in this case, we've got a goalie identification. The recent plays will be shown up in the play log here. At any point throughout the event, you can access the help tab. The help tab gives you instructions on how to import rosters, set up your game. If you're looking for a cheat sheet on how to enter in hotkeys, which I'll go in a little bit deeper here shortly, but just some resources that are available for you. And if you ever need them, they're always here. And we also do have a lot of this content published on our website as well. So now we're all set here. We're in pretty good pretty good shape. We're at the face-off dot. The space bar is essentially a good tool I should probably call out. Spacebar will start and will also stop the clock. But for this case, let's start the game as normal. We'll have a face off. You'll select your visitor. You'll select the opposing team. Who won the draw? Was there a face-off violation? And as you can see, as you're entering these plays, the system is prompting you for the required information. Was it a ground ball? We'll say there was no ground ball in this scenario, and it was one clean. As you notice, once I clicked the face-off button and we entered that play, the clock started automatically. As I mentioned before, if you ever need to stop the clock, you simply push the space bar and the clock will stop. You're in the broadcast booth and you're looking for some quick play-by-play highlights or some statistical metadata that you can call out while you're live. This is always available. We will track this. These will update throughout the game. In the visitor and we define by visitor and home as well. You also have your overall game summary. Any available broadcasts will also be displayed here. Let's stop the clock. So we're in play here. Let's go back to recent plays. You've got our play log up. Let's enter another core play here. I think it's probably good to call out. We just took a face off for in the men's lacrosse event. I've got a women's lacrosse event open here that is already in progress. Notice how in the women's add play screen, instead of face off, you see draw control. Draw control is a little different in that it will simply require a winner, whereas a face-off will require both participants. What that will lead to is more extensive and robust face-off statistics on the men's side, but this is typically the way that we are tracking face draw controls on the women's side. You'll get total draw controls and draw controls per game. Okay, clock has been running here. Had some back and forth. Let's run a turnover. We'll say the turnover was by the Bandits since they currently have the ball in their hands. The turnover will, when you're entering the turnover, it'll ask who committed the turnover, who the turnover was caused by. If it was not caused by anybody, you simply select no cause. Again, the play log will be updated here as that's added. Another primary difference between the men's and the women's game is the way that we track penalties, fouls, and cards. So if you notice, we stop the clock here. In the men's view, this would be the flow for entering a penalty. So you would choose penalty, you would select the team, and you would select a player from the team. You could enter the infraction. You could always enter the keys if you need to. And then you would select the type of penalty. For this case, we'll go with a major penalty. And they will go up a man. The system will take the clock time that was, well, right now the clock is currently stopped, so that's helpful. But if the clock were running, the system would take the clock time from the point that you clicked add play, or selected the play, I'm sorry. So we've got a power play or a penalty on TD Laren for the Toronto Lock rock for failure to advance, and we gave him a major for that for some reason. If needed, you can define the amount of seconds for each penalty. What is the duration? So for this event, we have a minor set to 30, 120, 60, 60, and 300. These values, of course, would probably be best edited before the game started. So keep that in mind. But these are also season settings, so they would, by default, already be accurate based on the season that your team's playing in. Now, on the women's side, we do it a little differently. We ask for the penalty seconds for cards specifically. So in this case, we've got defaults at 120, 60, and 300 for a red card. Let's go back to the ad play views here. Now, while this game's happening, we have a stat integration set up between a stat partner, but you also have the ability to go to an in-house platform called PrestoSync. And within PrestoSync, you can essentially decide to send the game file that is generated, which I will show you here. So this current game file can be sent as plays are entered to your local drive so that those details can be presented on your in-arena utility board. So within PrestoSync, you just grab you would simply log in with the same credentials that you logged in to the CMS or game day administration system. After successfully logging into PrestoSync, you will see a list of the events that you have available within your account. Currently, these events go 2 weeks forward and 2 weeks 2 weeks prior. We do have some plans to update how we render the events here. But for our purposes, we will simply set up a transmission to our computer. Let's confirm the event we are in. Going back to game day here. And you can see the event that we have put into progress. In progress is denoted by this orange highlighter. Okay. So we want to take the 4 o'clock event. A lot of times you guys probably won't have this many events on the same day. Likely you may have a doubleheader. Highly likely you'll have the same team playing 3 times. Okay. So here we're going to send this game file to our local drive. You'll select the folder. Just going to simply select downloads. We will go name your file. Say men's lacrosse 8/28/6. Okay, and we'll say simply click the start transmission button here. And as you can see, the application is continuously pinging our backend system to pull the most up-to-date game file on your local drive. And that can be shown here. Okay. As statistics are entered throughout the game, that file will be updated with the most up-to-date stats. Let's turn back into the platforms here. Okay. Start the clock back up. Demonstrate a shot here. Say Toronto takes a shot for 8. And you have your shot results screen. These are all the hotkeys, again, are all underlined as well. Say a goal. This resulted in a goal. They were on the power play. You'll have to identify that manually. Some of our other platforms actually will infer based on the number of players that are currently on the field. In this case, we'll say they were a man up. And optionally, you may enter an assist. If it was unassisted, you would simply click no assist. The player season statistics must be provided here so that they're added to the game file. So we'll say this was the first goal and first assist for each of those players during the season. Confirm the time. Lastly, and as you can see, the clock is still running here, but that goal happened at 9:31 before I started entering this play. And the clock will automatically update to that point. Lastly, I think we could probably show a substitution, similar across both platforms, men's and women's. We would select a player that is going in. We'll say Connor Farrell is coming in, and that's shown here at the bottom of the view. And who are they being replaced by or for? And they're going to be replaced for Ian McKay. We'll save that. And that's a substitution. I think a good point here. Let's progress. Let's for some reason say that clock skipped 9.5 minutes. So we can set the clock here to 00. Manually set the clock, and let's progress to the next period. You would go to the game control button here, and you would click end period to trigger the ending of this period. Confirm the clock time. And we can go in and start the next period with the same flow. Okay. And we'll start off with face-off. We won by Buffalo, no face-off violation. If there was a face-off violation, we would simply note that. At any point in the game, if you need to make a comment or want to append a comment to a play, simply click the comment button. And that will be added to the recent plays as well. Any point throughout the game, you need to navigate to a previous period. You would simply click on the full play-by-play button, and it will take you to the most recent period, and you can navigate back and forth. And at this point, if you need to edit a period or remove a play, you can simply come here and you can delete the play. And the clock, please keep in mind, will automatically continue in the state that it was before. We'll pause it for now. Let's go back to the play-by-play summary. You can also edit a play. So in this play, we'll say that it was actually 18 that took the face off, and 3 was fine for the home team. But we'll say that the Rock won the ball. And we'll say that there was no face-off violation in this case. Okay. So you saw there, if the system prompts you or notices that you are heading down a route that is not a valid route, you will be prompted with that message that you just saw there. Okay, so now that's edited. We're still in the second period here. At any point in the event or at any time, typically you would do this once you've played out the entire event or overtime, you can finalize the event. So to finalize the event, you'll go to the game control view and you'll click wrap up. A couple of options here. Confirm the score, probably a good idea. If you'd like to edit it, you can absolutely edit it, but if it doesn't match with the data that we've captured in the XML, we will note that, but you can still proceed. If you would like to print the box score, that's available. You can also start another period, should you decide to. Complete game information, it's typically going to be the end time here. You have other information such as officials, weather, venue, all of that stuff can and is suggested to be provided, but not required. Inputting goalie records is probably a step that we should call out for now. In the future, this stuff we will capture that automatically. But for this case, we'll need to determine who was the winning goaltender. We'll say CJ Kirst since they're up 1-0 at the W here. And sorry about that. Okay. Simply enter the goalie record. That will be saved to the game file. Okay. And lastly, team records the system will suggest that these are provided as well. Okay. Now, if we go back to this event here in game day, take a look and notice that we are currently in progress. System is cached. Let's refresh the page. As you can see, we are final state. The current game statistical briefs are shown here. If you need to, you can absolutely go to the box score view of this event, and you can see every version of the box score that was created. A version is created once you start the event. It's put to in progress, and after each and every play that is entered. Okay. If you need to, you can highlight changes from the previous versions. Really, goalie minutes was the only thing that changed in that time period. Sample of some of the statistics that we capture throughout the event. But yeah, I think that's culminates the presentation. We probably get into Q&A here and take some of your questions.
Thank you, Zaid. Appreciate that. I'll go ahead and open it up to questions. I know we've already answered one. I don't see any in the Q&A. So if you do have some questions, feel free to unmute or type them in. Looks like we just got one. Do you have to log in play by play? Sometimes there are 4 to 5 players going on and off at the same time, and by the time those are recorded, we've missed like 10 stats. Or can you just check off their participation? So do you have to do the substitutions live, or can you do substitutions at the end?
I wouldn't do substitutions at the end. I would absolutely promote substituting the players individually as plays. Because the participation is it's important that it's defined, especially your starters. It's important that the system won't let you progress to start adding plays until you identify your starters. Participation is going to be identified as players accumulate statistics throughout the game.
Any further questions?
I have it. Kind of piggyback off the substitution question because they're very fast in the men's game. Don't can't we just do participation at the end or like each time they sub, you need to put a substitution in there? Because I don't we didn't have to do that in like Stat Crew, for example. Is
Yeah. So the problem is if you don't substitute that player until the end, then that player is not going to be available for selection, right? So if you select shot, then that player is not going to show up on that roster because they're not on the field.
So, but so you have to substitute them even though they're in the roster, you check them off that they're playing. You have to put the substitution because I feel
Because
like you need a person each time someone subs in because people sub in, especially in the men's game. I don't know about the women's game, but it's pretty constant.
yeah, I mean, especially when you're talking box lacrosse, right? I mean, they're hopping off of a bench that's 5 yards away. So I completely understand. I think that we have some improvements that we can make in the way that we handle participants and starters within our system. I don't see a reason why we couldn't give you guys the option to identify lines, kind of similar like you were to do in a sport like hockey, where you can define those lines throughout the game and or before the game and throughout the game you can switch the lines as a play.
Yeah, I would just want to clarify something here because I think everyone's going to stat the game how they see fit. And I think that's why you're kind of getting a lot of pushback here in regards to substitutions. So, the end user for the statistics or the coaches, the conferences, things like that, and what they want to see. I mean, I've been using the PrestoStats for Lacrosse since, it's my 5th year at Illinois Tech. And even for men's lacrosse, we don't do formal substitutions. When we use the roster, if someone off the bench is on and they come in and they touch a ball, we'll click their number and that automatically institutes their participation. Um, I haven't found a need within my coaches or in the conference or the other conference SIDs that we need to keep a formal tracking of substitutions in lacrosse because as long as the stat program doesn't get gummed up, in other words, stat program isn't asking for substitutions in lacrosse, then as many people have mentioned, the pace, especially the pace of men's lacrosse, you couldn't keep up with doing men's substitutions, the pace that they come on and off the field to formally track that. So it is going to be more if someone touched the ball and they weren't selected as a starter, we're going to pick them off the bench and then they're immediately going to be flagged for participation because we use their number. Then we don't have to go back and do any participation. The only time we have to go back and do participation is if someone got on the field but they never touched or had a transaction. Then we have to go back and verify that there was participation.
And
Yeah,
then
that's a great clarification, Eric. I appreciate you saying that. Yeah, you don't necessarily, it's not going to prevent you from doing any stats by
Right.
not doing that. So yeah, that's a really good point.
so to kind of add on, thanks for the clarification, Eric. That's really helpful. So basically, like let's say number 88 is comes into the game, isn't a starter, and scores a goal. then I would have to just bring him off the bench to give him credit for the goal. Is that correct?
Yeah, you wouldn't see him in your starter, so then you'd move him. You'd go to the bench spot on the roster and select him. It'll always ask that. So if you're doing a goal transaction, and Zaid's going to walk through it here, I think maybe. So you do the shot, it results in a goal, and if it's not someone who's on the field, you go to the on bench, and then you grab that person from there, whoever it was that was on the bench that scored.
And then automatically add him for participation. Great.
Yeah,
That's
as soon as they have a transaction, they automatically get triggered for participation.
beautiful. And I know we have a student that does participation, so
Yeah.
perfect. That I appreciate your help, Eric. And also Zad and Brad too.
Yep.
Thanks, Eric. Big time. Definitely.
Yeah.
I love having experienced SIDs on these calls because sometimes you guys are just better at understanding the questions than we are. So I appreciate that. Okay, another question. This is my first season on Presto. Can I import last season's CRO, remove last year's seniors, and add the freshmen, and I'll be set to go?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Next question.
You would after you import, you would get last year's season, of course, and then you would go into your roster in game day. You would manually remove those seniors from last year and then add the freshmen from this year.
Okay. Next question.
Sorry, Brad. I
Yeah.
might want to add on to that. Sorry. So if that's a sidearm school or a Presto school, whatever, if your roster is already there, you should be able to export your current roster from the website in CRO fashion. So it seems like a little more work to go back and bring last year's roster and then add new players. You should be able to grab your new roster from either your Presto site or your Sidearm site as a CRO. Unless I'm missing something here.
No, I
Well,
think that's right.
not everybody, unfortunately, is a website client, but
Okay.
that's the only downfall there. But you're 100% accurate. You can absolutely take that CRO file and import it in through the platform directly or in through game day.
So this is a common question for cloud-based type software. So Zaid, can you stat on two different devices at the same time? Like if you have a device dedicated to subs, well, the main device is keeping up with play-by-play.
Yes. Yeah. I wouldn't I don't promote it, but the system does work in that manner. The system will actually work if you are not connected to the internet as well. And once connection is restored, the system will hit our backend game day administration system and feed the most up-to-date game file.
Yeah, and I'll also add that if you see that little green check mark on the screen just to the right of Presto Sports, where Zaid's pointing at it, that shows you're online, everything's going back to the server. That also means that if you're connected to live stat displays, that data is going out. One thing, if that ever goes red or you notice that your computer is disconnected, always highly recommend do not close your tab. Keep statting. It will allow you to do that. It will save it all locally on your cache of your browser. Just keep on going. And as soon as it reconnects, it will all automatically start to go back up there. Okay, next question. Will Presto automatically count individual players' season goals and assist as they are scored? I've done a sample game and the program is asking me to do it manually with each goal. So Zaid, this is when you score a goal, it will prompt you how many goals on the season, but it won't automatically add it based on the data in our system, correct?
Correct. But we do have that data.
So this is my question. So do you have to? So will it add up? Once you start, or are you gonna? When you say we have that data, what do you mean exactly?
So as far as a player's total number of goals and assists that they accumulate throughout the season, we have that data in season stat reports.
Okay, so we won't have to do it every time then.
Well, no, for the platform's asking how many goals has that player scored on the season so that it can put it directly into the file to support the integrations with StatCrew and the the packed file formats. But down the line, that should be an integrated field as well.
Okay, so it might be wise to just have, I mean, obviously, first game of the season is going to be easy for everybody because you can just count from zero. But midway through the year, you might not know, who's somebody in the middle of your goal scoring,
Correct.
what
Yeah.
they're at. So you might want to have their stats up during the game just to make sure, or would that be a safe habit to have?
Yeah, it wouldn't be a bad idea to have a list of the team roster on paper with their top 5 primary statistics for whatever sport you're statting during a game. But
Okay.
for us, it's definitely in our best interest, I think, to integrate as much data as we can that we have.
Hey, Zaid, sorry, I'll chime in again, Mark, on that. So, for the purpose of the season goals, where it asks you how many is this, and then it'll ask you each time after a goal, that's more for what's going to display in the play-by-play that comes
Exactly.
out.
Yep.
So, and so that would show up on the live stats, in terms of, the number of goals. So each time that person scores, if you're manually putting it in, you see on that particular event that, oh, that was their 5th goal of the season, or that was their 6th goal of the season. What Zayed's talking about on the back end is your season statistics will always keep compiling and updated as you're using the platform or you're uploading XMLs, whatever. But that's more, that particular field is more for, do you want it to display in the play-by-play of the event that shows up on your live stats? If so, then you need to manually put it in there. If you don't care about that, then you don't have to put anything in there. It's not a required field, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you
Got
can
you.
move past it, just like you said. Yeah. You
Yeah.
don't, it's not going to hold you there for sure.
Yeah, systematically, we'll throw an error if you try to skip something, or we just will simply prevent you from skipping something that we need.
Gotcha. Thank you.
All right. Next question, I'll go ahead and answer Zaid. It's common. Is there only an XML available for download, or can we download a pack file of the game? We have sunset pack files. We did that a couple of weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, I believe, maybe 2. So yes, XML is available. Pack files are no longer supported. So just a heads up on that.
It's probably a minor use case for this group, but you guys are free to import pack files today. So if you're taking a pack file from an external system and you want to bring it into our system, we still do support pack files. But once you update that event within our system, whether you do it through game day or through the stats platform, you will lose the pack file and you only have an XML and JSON PDF in your standard formats available.
Okay. Zaid, can you walk through stat partners again, in particular, just showing how to hook it up to your sidearm live stats?
So you would go to the stats tab here, and you would be helped typically with this integration setup when your season is before your season has started. This is something that if you guys do have a stat partner, please share it with your support or team member, implementation manager, and they can help you to ensure that you've got the right information as far as the server, the username and password. I mean, in reality, you guys will likely need to provide the username, password, path, and the authentication method.
And just make sure you understand that make sure that that is checked. That's always the first thing you want to make sure, is that your checkbox by whatever you're sending into is checked. It will stay checked throughout the entire season, and all that information will live in there. And if you uncheck it, then if you want to send it somewhere else, if you're sending it to a stat broadcast or somewhere else, and you don't want to send it to sidearm or whatever that looks like for you, you can always adjust that.
Yeah,
Do you,
and
do you, I'm sorry, do you have to reset that every year as you create each season, or does it carry over your stat partner?
you need to set that. I believe you need to set that for each season.
I believe
Okay.
so.
But it does. But once it's set up at an individual team level, so at the individual team level, your team ID within the season, will be associated to stat partners. And you have multiple options here. You've got your typical sidearms and CBS, but if you just have like an FTP location that you want to drop to, you would just click other XML live stats.
Okay.
Should we talk about statting neutral site games as it pertains to stat partners here?
Yeah, so with a neutral site game, and I think the main thing to consider with neutral site is that with your login, you have native access to your team. If you're statting a neutral site game, you would need to get access to one of those two other schools, which you would do by going to our support team, letting them know you're statting, what game you're statting, and they will give you access to that team. From there, you're literally have access to their schedule where you will go to their schedule, click on that school, and then go to that game and start PrestoStats there. With the stat partners, it's the same thing. You would just go into their stat partners. Typically, their stat partners that they want those to go to are already checked. So you shouldn't need any additional information from them. On the off chance that you're doing a tournament and you want everything to direct to, maybe it's a stat broadcast, live stat display that you want everyone in the tournament going to, then you could always uncheck their box and check the other XML to send it out there. But yeah, Zaid's gonna kind of show you a little bit about what that looks like.
Yeah, as Brad mentioned, if you are an individual institution and you are not under a governing body or a conference, a governing body being NAIA or NJCAA, you have administrators on your account. So within the NAIA, for example, if you are a member, you are a user within that account. And within that account, we have administrators, and those administrators have been defined already at the governing body level. You would just reach out to, you could even reach out to those administrators and say, hey, I have a neutral site game today, and I need access to stat Bethel University's lacrosse match. They can simply go into your user, can add an RPI to you.
And while Zaid's doing this, I'll tell you, RPI is just our term for a team code.
To institution ID,
Yeah.
ultimately. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I can grant a user access to a given sport for a specific period of time. Whether that's 1 day, 2 days, it's up to you guys. But that functionality is available. So if you find it difficult to get in touch with support, or you simply have somebody who's an administrator within one of these organizations that you are in contact with on a daily basis, you can just reach out to them and they will grant you access.
And then once you give the access, those games for that particular sport for that time period would show in the game day section as events.
Correct.
Okay.
And you would have access to those seasons as seasons and rosters as you typically do with your home school.
Let's see. We've got another question on XML files. If it's possible to load XML files from your entire history and have the system generate an accurate record book. So you can't do that natively out of PrestoStats. You can have all of those games in there and have access to the box scores and some reports, but it won't generate a record book. We do have a record books product that you can do all this for. That's what we would recommend that you utilize for that particular thing, which will give you your rankings in every stat category. That would be the recommended way to do that. Next question. To other SIDs before games and once you create your roster, would you just send this CRO file? Zaid, you wouldn't have a reason to send a CRO file unless they're not using PrestoStats, correct?
Correct. And even then, I believe that CROs are not the only method to get a file into StatCrew, correct? To get a roster into StatCrew. And it's rare that you have a program on your machine that can read those files appropriately as well. Something to consider.
So I was wondering about CRO rosters too. We have a game next week, and I had reached out to the opposing SID to get their CRO roster over to me because I thought that was the best way to go about it. I've done the URL paste from a team's website, and it says that it can't take that kind of file. I'm not sure if I'm missing something there, but what would be the next best method if not the CRO roster?
If not the CRO, I would resort to a CSV file.
Okay.
That's typically how I find the fastest way to bulk enter rosters.
And once a roster has been entered into PrestoStats for that team, regardless of if they're a Presto user. So Mark, if you're playing a team a month down the road that has a game in PrestoStats already, their roster should already be in the system, unless they were entered directly into the into the actual stat platform and not CMS. So, Zaid, is that correct?
That's correct.
Yeah. Further
Thank
questions? Okay. Well, I think we had a really productive webinar today. I want to thank Zaid for his time. I've put a lot of links to our help center in the chat. I would actually recommend go ahead and bookmarking a lot of those. Those will definitely help you outside of just clicking the help button within the platform. I think that's also easy. Today's webinar will be recorded, it already was, and it's going to go up on YouTube and our Help Center in the coming days. So with that, we will go ahead and conclude and want to thank everybody for your time and best of luck this season.